Activision presents a smashing blast from the past. Developed by Vicarious Visions. It's Crash Bandicoot! It's Crash Bandicoot! It's Crash Bandicoot! Warped!
We've officially got Snowman. Harry. Why does Eddie have to die though? Why Eddie have to die? Wait, what is this? Isn't there a female version of Crush? Yay, Crush can finally have a girlfriend. Let's see how many boxes land on him this time.
Don't think the creators, not even actor Joseph Quinn, were entirely prepared for the outright adoration this character.
I see you are getting the hang of it. I need to conserve power. I will communicate with you again after you retrieve the 5th crystal.
The latest character TikTok has a shared lust for. Eddie Munson became an idol. So when such a beloved character is killed off, fans start doing the writer's job and coming up with ways to bring him back. Even after said character is eaten alive by the Demobits in a heroic death for the people who despise him. While some theories may be a bit far-fetched, we want him back, guys, but we have to be a bit realistic with these things. There is one that actually carries some weight, because his story so parallels certain aspects of the Dungeons & Dragons game that cannot be ignored. And if fans have learned anything from the older D&D games in the series, it's that they always tell us something to pay attention to. In this world, there is a character known as Cos the Bloody, and he is actually a devoted ally of Vecna. The Vecna of D&D is known as the most powerful lich in history, and is considered a god of secrets who, after recovering from being defeated, tries to rewrite the world in his own image. That sounds familiar to me, but we make a point. Along the way, Cos ends up betraying his master, using a black sword that whispers to rebel against him. This part of the story was somewhat reproduced in the 4th season of Stranger Things, where the Hellfire Club plays a game, and a person is heard yelling, "Vecna is dead. He was killed by Cos, only for the Dungeon Master Eddie declared. So was thought, my friends." Cos used a shield and a sword as a weapon, and while swords are hard to come by in 1980s Indiana, it's no exaggeration to point out that Eddie fought with a makeshift spear, a knife attached to a rod, and a shield he had found. Maybe the garbage can lid and nails, but that's not what caught our attention. Cos' fate in the realm of D&D is where things get a bit complicated. Upon defeating Vecna, Cos is flung across the ocean, and is later transformed into a vampire. Do you know a way to make vampires, according to ancient mythology? The bites. So Eddie being bitten to
This is a
death by
speedrun.
Vecna is not an impossibility. But it also leaves a lot of question marks about how much those same bites would have affected his right-hand man casting, Steve Harrington, who was also attacked during Season 4 by the Demobits. Could Eddie be resurrected and become an important piece of the puzzle to take down Vecna Henry 0011 once and for all? The Duffer brothers have gone on record during an interview on the Happy Sad Confused podcast that Eddie is definitely dead, but considering that they are true masters of dodging answers and twisting the truth in the name of a good twist, we take it like an unanswered question. After all, anyone who even vaguely knows vampires knows they are considered dead, or undead, but definitely not alive. We also don't know the real ins and outs of the other side, and the rules of society. Actor Joseph Quinn is clearly set to return as well, and he's been trying to find a way to resurrect the metalhead for one more day. No theory that Steve Harrington and I will discuss how he can come back. Maybe it would be like a figment of Dustin's imagination or something. Like there could be some kind of need for something like that, something a little bit It should be noted that, if Eddie's story is really his destiny is not exactly to return to Hawkins with a hero's welcome, and life as pleasant as possible. In the end, Cos is destroyed and becomes someone whose power can be channeled through other people, instead of existing on this planet. In any case, we may not have had our last killer guitar solo, yet doesn't mean that Eddie can't make an appearance in Stranger Things Season 5. Like Dasser
Actually,
Montgomery and Billy returning in Stranger
cool.
Things Season 4 to haunt Max, Sadie Sink, Eddie could appear as a flashback or vision after his death. The nature of Stranger Things also gives the show a host of creative possibilities. This is a show, after all, in which a scene luring interdimensional bats from a haunted house with a Metallica song makes perfect sense. Of course, if Eddie is to be brought back into Stranger Things, there needs to be an appropriate reason. Hopefully, Season 4 doesn't show the last of Eddie. With that said, Eddie's death provided closure to his arc, even if there were flaws in his overall sacrifice.
Turtle. I don't want to do turtle woods. No go. Hang it.
Yes, sir. Now, unless you've been living in a cave, I know that you've seen this Eddie theory going around on Stranger Things Twitter and TikTok. There is a completely plausible way that Eddie actually survives his death in the Upside Down this season and will live to come back and fight Vecna with the kids in Season 5. We're going to break down and go into all the details proving that this could have been their plan all along with this character. Now, honestly, I think this theory stems from the fans just not wanting Eddie to be dead. Because, honestly, you killed off Eddie? What? Were I specifically asking not to? Everyone fell in love with this character a little too hard, and even though most people should have known that they were going to kill him off by the end of the season, spoiler alert, I mean, that's what the Duffer Brothers do to new characters. Just look at Barb, look at Bob. They did the same thing to Alexi and Billy. The Duffer Brothers are known for killing off our favorite B characters. Why would you let yourself get attached? Well, I mean, that's what I tell myself each season after they kill off their next target. But this time, the fans aren't letting it go. They've come up with so many Eddie Munson theories and what-ifs to keep him alive, and all the way from him being test subject turned. Yeah, that's right. I mean, he kind of looks like him a bit, if we're being honest, but Eddie did mention to Chrissy that when he was younger, his hair used to be buzzed. Different? Yeah. Well, my hair was buzzed. Could be just a random detail, but I don't know. The Duffer Brothers usually have a method to every detail of their madness they put in the show. So people are thinking, what if his head was shaved because Brenner shaved it when he was in MK Ultra? Brenner is one of the only confirmed survivors from the night of the massacre, and do you remember who was in that room with him? Yup, 10. If anyone survived along with Brenner, there's a good chance that 10 did. Eddie's constantly considered to be freaked and referred to as an outcast, just like 11 is, and to be honest, he didn't even find it that hard to believe that Elk had powers, as if it wasn't that big of a shock to him because he still has powers. And not to mention his suspiciously placed watch on his left arm, right where his number 10 tattoo would be. I'm telling you, the Duffer Brothers pay attention to the details, and it's definitely a solid theory that I'm sure I could get really into and make a whole video about if you guys really want me to flesh it out. Just let me know in the comments. But today, we're talking about an entirely different theory. One that explains how Eddie survives his traumatic bat death in the Upside Down, and explains his important role in resurrection defeating Vecna. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm Michael J, and random fact of the day is, did you know that only 12% of you guys that are watching this video right now are actually subscribed? Shout out to the 12%, you guys are absolutely the best, but everyone else, what are you even doing? It doesn't cost anything, it's totally free, and it really helps support the channel. We're trying to hit 500k by the end of the year, and I want you to help us do it. Plus, I'm leaving a warm plate of fresh cookies in the comment section that are only for everyone who subscribes. Go get them while they're hot, because this theory is going to get juicy. I also have been working with some artists recently to make some cool Stranger Things wallpaper for you guys to hold us over until Season 5. The first one is of Chrissy and Eddie at one of his concerts. I can't help but feel like there's some what-if multiverse out there where Chrissy and Eddie both survive Season 4, and they get together and she goes to all of his concerts. I'm really happy with how this came out. Go over to my Twitter at @It'sMichaelJ if you want to use this as your wallpaper, and I'm going to be posting some more in the next few weeks, so make sure you follow me. Now, for starters, I personally think it's really weird that they just completely breezed over Eddie's death. For him being such a huge addition to the cast this season, there's no way that they just didn't film scenes of the entire gang. Steve, Nancy, Mike, Lucas, of Eddie saving them all and dying a hero. There's just no way none of the other characters even acknowledged it. Maybe Netflix told them to keep that last episode under 3 hours, and they felt like they could cut some of those scenes since Eddie won't be dead for good, and they just kept the most emotional one, Dustin killing his uncle. Plus, I don't know if you've seen the behind-the-scenes photos of Eddie getting wheeled away on a
stretcher into an ambulance, but we never saw any of that. I don't know if it's an extra scene they shot for season 5 or a scene that was cut from the finale, but they shot that for a reason. And this theory could possibly answer some of these questions. Now, to set the stage for this theory, we're going to need some D&D context. I'm sure you know by now that the Duffer Brothers love to explain things in Stranger Things by letting the kids introduce them through their D&D games and more. And just like that, we're going to do that to explain the number one person in focus for this theory. Real quick, I want to talk to you about the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is celebrating their 3rd anniversary as one of the top mobile RPGs out there. They're constantly dropping new content, adding new characters, and even a whole new faction recently, the Shadow Clan. Probably some of the coolest looking characters I've seen since the Lizardman Chameleon dude. They also released the Doom Tower game mode that introduced a whole new world of terrifying bosses to slay. 120 levels full of challenges for the experienced players, and not to mention the newest uber monster you can go up against, Hydra. This clan boss is by far the biggest, baddest, and scariest monster to enter Teleria. This month, Raid has a ton of new things happening. They're premiering 5 brand new, amazing looking champions, as well as overhauling the champion vault, and they've got a huge series of Summer Splash events running all month long where you can stack some incredible skins for everyone's favorite dwarf, Hydra. And if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here, you'll get prizes worth $30. A free epic champion, Aina, 200k silver, 1 MVP refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard. So you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in-game. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here. Now, back to the video. We're going to do that to explain the number one person in focus for this theory, Cass. Now, Cass was originally a paladin, a crusader sworn to an oath to promote and fight for his beliefs and values, which, I mean, kind of already sounds like Eddie, finally not running and fighting to save the ones he loved and believed in. But Cass was Vecna's most trusted lieutenant, his right-hand man. Vecna gave Cass a long lifespan and created a sword for him, the Sword of Cass, which eventually Vecna's evil manifests in and becomes sentient, and begins seeking blood in the downfall of Vecna. It eventually convinces Cass to betray and kill his master. During a ritual to ascend and become a god, Cass interrupts Vecna and attacks him. Their battle destroys Vecna's rotting tower, and Cass cut off Vecna's left hand and stabbed him in the left eye. Right before he dies, Vecna banishes Cass across the multiverse to Citadel Cavicius, which was the place that Vecna used as a prison and his fortress, much like Vecna's mind space that he traps his victims in Season 4. This place was cold and dark, and in it existed dark, diffuse clouds of drifting flakes of ash, kind of like something that sounds like what Vecna found in the Upside Down that he turned into the Mind Flare. Now, in this Citadel, there is a force that drains both body heat and life energy from its victims, just like the Upside Down. Each time we see people go in for long periods of time, we can really see its effects take a toll. And in here, there was said to be a very narrow path between the Citadel and the outside that could be used by victims to exit if they were able to quickly do so before dying, which kind of sounds like what we saw Max use to escape the first time she was in prison.
Hello, my name is Alberto Longo. I'm the chief.
It's like what we saw Max use to escape the first time she was in prison. Now, while Cass was here, the Force turned him into a vampire, and he donned the name Cass the Destroyer. Now, vampires are usually derived from bat bites, just like the way that Eddie died. Vecna was eventually resurrected by his followers and came back even stronger with the powers of a demigod. But later, when he was defeated by adventurers, Cass was freed and went on to wage the war against Vecna in hopes of retrieving the Sword of Cass from the Citadel where he believed Vecna kept it. And when Vecna escaped, both realms were destroyed. Cass was nearly obliterated, and the destruction just barely left him existing as a soul outside of time and space. Or, in this case, a soul trapped in the Upside Down. Now, from there, Cass and his powers were able to be used by binders, adventurers in the real world who were able to form a bond and use some of the powers that their host once possessed. It would be so crazy if Eddie fights Vecna and is almost killed, but is left barely alive trapped in the Upside Down, and Elle has to piggyback off of him to harness his powers he acquired from his time in the Upside Down, or Vecna, and use them to finally defeat, you guessed it, Vecna himself. And this theory goes even further. Remember all of Eddie's tattoos? You never get to see them addressed or even really looked at close up, but if you can zoom and enhance on some of them, each one of them goes to support this theory. On his right forearm, he has a tattoo of bats. Like, come on, for real, not to mention the death being foreshadowed since episode 1, but also, bats specifically being the thing that killed him could potentially support him turning into a vampire, or some equivalent Stranger Things iteration of a vampire. Now, all the bats are hive mind connected to Vecna, don't forget, Him having a bat tattoo might even suggest that he will eventually be connected to Vecna as well. And on his upper chest, Eddie has a tattoo of a black widow spider, which they couldn't be any more obvious with this one. This is the same spider that Henry Creel, or Vecna, became attached to and molded the Mind Flayer into. The Mind Flayer literally took the form of a spider, and Vecna in the Creel house being held up by all the vines, a spider in its web. Even Billy being killed off by the meat puppet in season 3, all the arms coming out of him resembles a spider. And Vecna is the one controlling all of his different spiders, you could say. His generals that do his bidding for him. His monsters. Eddie also has a demon tattoo, which could represent his turning into a demon or a vampire for Vecna, his evolution from Eddie into Cass the Destroyer. Just a thought. But this next one might have the most significance. Eddie has another on his right arm. Weird that he has nothing on his left arm that's important. Huh, kinda sus. But this one is the Puppet Master, representing Vecna and his control over everyone he's used so far. Will, Billy, all the Blade, and now Eddie. Not to mention that the entire song he played right before his death was called Master of Puppets by Metallica. And I don't know how many of you actually listened to the lyrics of this song, because honestly I was so in the moment and hyped up during this, I was just smiling and headbanging along with Dustin. But not only does this song foreshadow his death a few scenes later, but it also foreshadows the possibility of Eddie turning into Cass and becoming a puppet of Vecna. It starts with End of Passion Play, crumbling away, I'm your source of self-destruction, basically saying after Eddie's passion play, distracting the bats and saving his friends, he will run to his own death and sacrifice himself. Taste me and you will see, more is all you need, dedicated to how I'm killing you. The bats literally eating away at Eddie, and Vecna then turning him into Cass, saying that he will see he needed him all along. Come crawling faster, obey your master, your life burns faster, obey your master, master. This could be Vecna now in control of dead Eddie turned to Cass and him being his master. Vecna was said to extend Cass's life, allowing him to live longer, or in this case, to save him from true death. Master of puppets, I'm pulling your strings, twisting your mind and smashing your dreams. Blinded by me, you can see a thing, just call my name, cause I'll hear you scream, master, master. Just further foreshadowing Vecna being his master and Eddie's loss of control, his loss of being himself. I will occupy, I will help you die, I will run through you, now I rule you too. This is Vecna taking complete control over Eddie and helping him turn into Cass to avoid death, and in turn becoming his master. And actually, during the credits, the song Spellbound plays, which has a lot more of the same. More lyrics reinforcing Eddie becoming taken over by Vecna and him becoming his master. Now, surprisingly enough, this is not the first time I've talked about Cass on this channel. I actually brought him up in a few other videos a while ago while I was introducing Vecna